Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Hi, this is Sarosh, lover of all things Paul Arriola. Third Degree the podcast is brought to you by Soccer90.com. Celebrate the North Texas SC playoff run by gearing up with a North Texas jersey, tee, or scarf. This weekend, September 16th through 18th, all North Texas SC merchandise is 30% off, so order your gear today. And remember, Third Degree listeners get 20% off other items at Soccer90.com with the promo code Third Degree. Some exclusions may apply. Discounts can't be combined.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fans. Welcome to yet another episode, which happens to be numbered, please.
I believe my notes indicate that it is episode 177.
Yes, 107.7 of Third Degree, the podcast. Hi, I'm Peter, and here, via the miracle of the internet, first, Dan, my condolences to the Queen's passing, and you.
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
Yes, it is a rough week. Where do you fall as an English person on royalty and the Queen? I ask this question a lot, and I get very varied answers.
Well, I'm a beneficiary of and later an ambassador for Prince, now King Charles's personal trust. So
you're rich?
No, like a charity trust, not financial trust.
Well, all
right. Yeah, but they're a big tourist attraction. They do their thing. They're cool, nice people.
Did you ever see the Queen in person?
No, I saw Charles at his 60th birthday. I was one of thousands of guests for that. Weirdly. So Princess Anne, she came to my school when I was a kid. And there's like a big yacht thing in the Isle of Wight called Cows Week, and I think I saw Charles and Diana there.
Well, there you go. Well, sorry about your queen. Congratulations on the new king. And since my wife and I are corgi people, we applied to adopt some of her corgis, but we were turned down. And they were unfortunately sent to Prince Philip instead, which sounds like punishment.
Well, Prince Philip is also dead. So,
oh, wait, no. Prince,
Andrew. So
Prince
give
Andrew.
it like 4 weeks, an allegation will come up. They'll probably get sent to you anyway.
Well, those dogs are 12.
I nearly said, I was touched by Andrew, but I thought that was a bit inappropriate. I thought we might also lose the Soccer 90 thing if I said touched by Andrew.
We don't want to do that. All right. Well, you hear him giggling in the background and worrying about his podcast sponsor, your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of ThirdDegree.net, and wildly famous MLS journalist, Buzz Carrick.
I'm not sure where the wildly famous came from. I did.
You're appearing on other people's podcasts, Buzz. That makes you wildly famous.
That happens from time to time. I enjoyed. Maybe that's the wrong word. The Queen passing is a cultural moment, so I enjoyed watching people react in various ways, and I was quite surprised by the amount of negativity towards her there was. I had apparently missed all kinds of things. In a worldwide cultural sense, there were people quite upset with her. And obviously, as an American, most of the things in her life have gone under my radar for sure. So it was an educational week for me in terms of the monarchy and the Queen. I didn't know very much about it, to be fair.
Did you see the signs they held up in the supporter section at the Celtic Champions League game yesterday?
I've heard of various relatively strong reactions from places that didn't surprise me, like Ireland or Scotland, but then, all around the world, or even here in the United States, like people that were really hated her. And I thought, what? You're an American. Why do you even care? But then, I understand it. And once I read a little more about it, I understand why they feel that way. I don't feel that way. I don't have any connection to that, cultural reasons.
Yeah. Dan, I don't.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Say
please,
that,
yes.
but not dance around it. Yeah, I was on social media thinking, what a bunch of fucking idiots.
Sorry.
I didn't know who Michael Faden was, but then I looked up the reference and thought, okay, well, that's a rather cutting and deep and weird thing to say upon somebody's death, but that's very much in the tone of most supporter groups kind of running smack. So there you go. So,
yep. Well, certainly there was some colonialism wrapped up in a lot of it, and living as long as she did and in power as long as she did, there was certainly people that didn't like her, and I was surprised to learn all that. So,
well, we talked with Lars, the guy that our friend on the kick around that we talked to that lives over there, and we were talking with him about how much of this was related to why they had canceled so many Premier League and professional games was because. And Dan, I'd love your insight into this, is that there was a considerable concern that, fan bases that weren't pro-royalty would not be very respectful during moments of silence, and they were worried about the blowback of that. And that just seems really crazy to me as an American.
I mean, that was in the plan of any reigning monarch dying, is that sport would stop. It's the same reason the Clarissa Shields fight didn't happen at the PGA Championship had its delay. I think cricket and rugby kind of carried on to try and take advantage of the people who still wanted to see sports, but everything was supposed to come to a halt. It was kind of a 60-year plan.
Sure, and if you watch specifically the stuff that went down Wednesday, today, the day we're recording the stuff, the procession of the coffin and everything, you can see the amount of time and effort has gone into planning a very intricate set of events. So, well, anyway, Dan, again, if you cared about the Queen or whatever, my condolences to you, sir.
Thanks. I appreciate their flags at half-mast. It's nice.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about more fun things, because dying people is not fun, but winning is fun. And look, here. This is not another result I was anticipating, and it certainly didn't go down the way I wanted to, but I will say this is the game of Jesus. If there was ever a time to trust Jesus, it was this game here, as Dallas beats LAFC, and not the prettiest way, Buzz, but hey, a win is a win is a win.
Yeah, you got to play the games, and I think even the players recognized this was a big one. There were some things said in the quotes from people saying that this game, from the FC Dallas perspective, is a chance to make a statement. I think everybody involved knows that they're still, where they are in the standings, and LAFC has a big numeric advantage in the points for a reason, but they are also getting a little cold. LA's 1-4 over the last 6, maybe stumbling at the wrong time, and certainly the red card, which we're going to talk about in a minute, changed the game. But the big, gigantic, massive takeaway is that we've been talking about a transcendent player for a long time. We've always talked about Dallas's failure to get one of these guys, and of course it's so FC Dallas that they never did go get one. They just grew one out of their academy instead. And watching a player go from being a very good player, which he already was, to this sort of transcendent guy that can decide a game in a moment of his personal greatness and take control of a game and win a game outright and carry a team is phenomenal. This is the guy Dallas has always needed to try and do something in the playoffs. So maybe the Hunts are right. This is going to be a get in and try and do something when you have a guy like this.
Dan, what were your reactions to the game?
Really crappy for 85 minutes. No, it was fun. And I mean, LAFC played a fantastic game, quite honestly. Went down early on, went to the low block, knew how to frustrate Dallas, gave Dallas plenty of the ball and plenty of time to think on it, which isn't necessarily FC Dallas's greatest strong point. Really frustrated them, and you look at the XG. LAFC had the better chances, and it really did take 2 moments of real absolute brilliance. When you talk about Arriola spotting the little turd who threw the temper tantrum, pulling his own centre back out of position for Jesus, And then Jesus lining up as if he was going to cross it, waiting. I think he said after the game he was waiting to see Crappery take a step to the side, anticipating a cross, and he was just going to blast for the post. Take away those, it really did take 2 moments of brilliance, which is every club that goes deep has those players that can take advantage of those moments. That's something that Dallas has sorely missed for a long time, like Buzz said.
There's so many different layers to this game to get into, but I do want to get into specifically the thing that was driving me nuts, which was Dallas played this game with a man advantage for 80 minutes? No, 75 minutes. And man, for long stretches of the game, it just didn't look like that. And I know LA is good, and meaning top of the league good, but Nico's team really, really, really struggled outside of those 2 magical moments, Buzz. And I don't know how much to read into that.
Well, I think that the things you perceive as struggles come from the low block LAFC's playing. I mean, when Dallas has 67% possession, it's like they're not struggling. They're holding the ball for the bulk of the game. What they're struggling with is the reason why teams play a low block. When you're trying to play down a man, or whether you're trying to play against a team that's better than you, which is Dallas is not better than LAFC normally speaking. But when you're down a man, you got to play as if they are. That's very, very difficult to do. No one can easily break down a low block. Dallas has struggled with that for sure, and the subs were effective in finally doing that. But I don't think you should take it as a sign that Dallas is poor or played poorly because they struggled to break that down. I mean, they controlled play from the moment of the red card on. They controlled the bulk of the action. Now, we've talked before about Dallas is, when they get into these kind of situations against these kinds of teams, they have been susceptible a little bit to rapid counters. And LA wasn't countering excessively, but their chances didn't come in like build-up play. They came against the run of possession. So I don't know that I've subscribed to Dallas struggling. I only subscribe to Dallas struggling to break down a low block, which always happens.
Well, okay, so I think we're saying the same thing. I would describe them having a hard time breaking down a low block when they have a man advantage, is struggling to do that. So I call it what you want. It was a frustrating game to watch, and they were just fortunate that Jesus and Paul had Jesus in particular had 2 very magical moments to break the game in their favor.
Well, both of those goals were constructed through the methods that you use to break down a low block. The first one comes with the attempt down the left side to get Farfan to the end and to get balls into the box. And the second one comes down the right side. And the subs are the thing that changed the game. The ways you can break down a low block are you can put in a body-up striker, which is what the Franco Jara sub was. That one, for the most part, did not really work, although, the play down by Farfan down the line, when he gets all the way to the end line looking to cross, that's not what Farfan usually does. So that's an adaptation to try and break down the low block. The other way you break down a low block is to dribble at it. So you bring in Siki and you bring in Nanu, 2 guys that want to dribble at players, and you're hoping that the dribbling can create gaps and pull players out of position and put the team under stress. That, on the right side, both of those 2 guys contributed directly to the play that led to that foul right on the outside of the box that Jesus scored on. So 2 moments of brilliance by Jesus, but 2 moments that came directly from the strategic play that Dallas adapted to try and break down the low block. And those are the 2 ways you do it. And they didn't work directly from those 2 things, but they worked indirectly from those 2 things. And so it just took a while, and that's how it goes when you play a team like that.
Now, one of the things that has not been talked about a lot in the aftermath, because everybody's so excited about the win, was the fact that we were a bit all surprised to find out that Alan Velasco was not only not starting, wasn't in the 18, and then they told us in the moments before the game that he has suffered some sort of thigh injury and is out for at least a month. Does anybody know any more about this situation, how bad it is? Is anybody super concerned about it? I
first started hearing word of it earlier in the day, and and I actually heard worse than a month at the time originally. I was actually really glad to hear only a month. You hope that the team spokespeople are putting out correct information and that it is only a month, because if it's 2 months, he's going to miss everything.
Right.
So, this will come down to, this is going to be the first, in my mind, this will be the first big injury test. I can't think of another one for this coach where he's going to miss a guy for a chunk who's so important, because we know O'Brien is not nearly as good as Velasco is today. Like at the beginning of the season, it was a lot closer than it is, because Velasco was turning the ball over all the time, but now it's a lot bigger of a gap. So I think it won't hurt them as badly as it could have if it really had been the original 2-month rumor that was flying around earlier in the day. I was glad it was less.
Do we know how the injury took place, Dan or Buzz, or what specifically it is?
Thigh and in training on Friday was all I've heard. So I don't know anything beyond that.
We don't, not a contact thing? We don't know anything about that?
No,
okay.
That's all I know. No.
All right. Well, let's hope that heals up, because that would be very unfortunate for the kid who finally was starting to consistently play well to fall off the map right about the time they go to the playoffs, which now, unless things go super sour, look more likely than ever before. All right, let's get into the most controversial moment of the game, which is the 15th-minute red card by Ryan Hollingshead, which is ironic considering how long he played here and his story and all of that. Buzz, what was your reaction to the red card?
Yeah, I in real time, I thought to myself, that's not a foul. Not only is it not a red card, it's not a foul in real time. And then they showed slow motion replays, the typical replays, and I thought to myself, yeah, clearly not a foul. Definitely not a red card, definitely not a foul by Ryan. And then they went over to the screen, and I thought, boy, that's really weird. And he watched it, and I thought, that's no big deal. He came back and said red card, and they showed freeze frames of it, and I still was like, that's not a foul. So for me, it's the reason it's not as foul is because Ryan clearly tackles the ball and clears the ball. He does not tackle Paul Arriola. Doesn't even hit Paul Arriola. Doesn't matter how fast you run it. He does not tackle Paul Arriola. Paul Arriola kicks Ryan. Paul goes to shoot, and he follows through, and Ryan's tackling the ball away, and he plainly kicks Ryan. In my book, if anything, that play is a foul on Paul for kicking Ryan. So I was watching, I tried to think to myself, okay, why in the world is that a red in their book? And I looked at it again, I went back and I slowed it down. And the thing I came up with that I think they probably was the reason is that Paul kicks Ryan about 4 frames before Ryan touches the ball. So the best I could do was, they're saying that's a trip where Paul is tripping over Ryan. But in my mind, and I am 100% of this belief, that is 100% not a foul at all. Definitely not a red, definitely not a yellow. And if anything, it was a foul on Paul. And I still think that, even after they ruled that it was a red, I think they're completely wrong. I think it's a bad call.
I'm with you. I didn't think it was a foul in real time. And I certainly, when I saw the replay, I went, well, it is a foul, but it's a foul on Paul because he kicked Ryan.
Yeah.
And then I was confused because when the referee called the foul and he clearly gave it as a free kick to Dallas, I'm thinking to myself, why? Okay, well, let's forget whether the ref is right or wrong. Why is he giving him a yellow card and not a red card? Because it's clearly last man. Like, it's not even close to not being a Dogsko situation.
Yeah.
And so that part was weird. And so I'm assuming that the VAR intervention wasn't ever going to be, because I don't think VAR can make a decision to change a yellow card unless it's related to a penalty kick, which this wasn't. So the only thing VAR can do in this instance is correct a missed red card, which this clearly was. So that's why VAR got involved. Now, what I find interesting, and again, I still don't... the referee was pretty far away, but close enough to the call that I'm gonna pass some benefit of a doubt here, because on the league's instant replay video session that they did yesterday, I think it was, they're claiming that it was a red card on Ryan because they Zapruder this film down to the most unbelievable degree, and they freeze frame it on a moment as Paul's leg is coming back, and they indicate and they claim, and I think if you look at it the way they show it, you can see it, but man, you gotta microscopically Zapruder this mother to see this. As Ryan is lunging in, he does make contact with Paul's foot before Paul's foot goes forward, and they are saying that's the foul. And I'm going to wonder if the referee is going to claim that he saw that.
Well, revisionist history, he can say whatever he wants, and I do, however, think you're probably correct about the VAR being about the red card part, and that they called him over to show him that it was the last guy, and that so it should be a red card once he's called the foul. I can buy that. I can buy that discussion. That they weren't adjudicating the actual foul itself in the VAR minute, that he'd already decided that. Yeah. But I'm telling you, like, full speed and on replay and on the VAR replay, I was like, it's not a foul.
Yeah.
Ryan clearly is clean to me. And now I'm sure, again, this is the minutia of the minor frames and this and that. Ryan goes through there cleanly without hitting Paul in any macro sense, and takes the ball. And this is something that I used to do all the time as a player, as a defender, was put my leg between the ball and the other guy, so that when they tried to shoot, they're kicking me. And that's a foul on them for kicking me. I did that all the time, and if you don't get the foul, you at least disrupt their ability to shoot the ball, and they don't get the shot off. So this is a common. Listen, I'm not a pro, but I played and was involved in this game my whole life. This is a very common tactic. Ryan does it at full speed on a tackle through the ball. So there's nothing that they can show me that's going to convince me that they're not completely wrong about this one, and that it was not a foul on Ryan, that it was a foul on Paul for kicking Ryan. So, it's not going to change anything, but I think it's ludicrous.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad call. I was shocked. I showed the video to friends of mine that are professional referees in England, and they all said that's not a foul. I think it was really mysterious, and I tend to side with referees because I refereed for a long time and at a very basic level, but I think I understand some basics of it, and I do tend to want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt because they are actually on the field and seeing the real thing and not just a video replay of it. And so I tend to want to run with that. But man, I'd be hard pressed to believe that he saw that little bit of connection that the MLS Instant Replay guys were trying to focus on their segment earlier this week. But anyway,
where were you on this, Dan?
I wasn't a foul in a million years. I get the notion that the referee's got the VAR in his ear that, hey, if you're given a foul there, that's a red card. And he probably doesn't. Okay. And he doesn't have the ability at that point to. Because I feel like one of the benefits of VAR originally was that the ref could say, oh, actually, upon further review, I made a mistake there. That's not a foul. We'll have a drop ball or something like that.
I don't think they can do that for just a normal foul outside the penalty area. I don't think VAR is used for that.
Well, that's what I mean. I thought initially when they introduced it, I feel like one of the things they said is that, while reviewing a potential red card, the ref could say, actually, you know what, not a red card, that's not even a foul. But I guess they don't have the ability to do that because, I don't know how he could have even looked at the monitor and gone, "Yep, that's definitely a foul."
Yeah, well, they haven't released their video review for this week yet. The last one
out Thursday or Friday, won't it?
Yeah, the last one came out on the 10th, so we'll find out then. But
you might.
Well, they've been pretty. Haven't they been pretty good about being open about these things with these videos?
Pretty much. They get most of the big ones in there. The referees do when the referees do them. I don't remember them missing one.
Such a clangor that it's almost like, do they want to stay away from it.
Look, if I'm an assessor, my biggest thing out of that, oddly enough, isn't about whether it's a foul or not, because I think there's a question to be said that the referee's far enough away from it and he sees it in real time and thinks it's a foul. My question is, why in the world he ever thought it wasn't a red card and only gave a yellow? Because here's my question. If you think it's a bad enough foul to give a yellow in that instance, how do you not know it's last man? There was nobody else around by a mile. Huh?
Did he give a yellow originally?
Oh, yeah, he gave Ryan a yellow.
I remember being shocked that he came out with a yellow.
That's why I was
That's
why I was so confused. It's like, if you're giving him a yellow, how is that not a red for a dog's go?
Yeah. Let's be clear on that. If you think it's a foul on Ryan, it's a red card. That's no question. It's a last man thing. I totally get that. I think we're all in agreement, though, that we don't think it's a foul.
The more I've seen it, it's one of those perfect instances where they highlighted, you let play continue, and then you let VAR do its job.
Yeah. Well, let's also be fair the other way, too, because I have a feeling he really rethought his decision-making in that deal after the fact, because I thought L.A. got away with all kinds of shit the rest of the game that normally would have been all, not just issuing of fouls, but cards and everything. I mean, you could have made the argument that L.A. could have been playing 2 men down at one point.
I mean, 2 games in a row, people have said Arango's just got away with murder.
Yeah, he was the worst culprit. He had 4 or 5 by halftime, and there were several that he didn't get called, and he was mouthing off the whole time. And I thought, like, halfway through the first half, I was like, how's that guy not have a yellow card? And then he had like 3 or 4 more fouls, and I couldn't. Now, second half he was fine, but the first half I literally wrote down, what is going on with this guy? Because I'm not usually one person to complain about the referees, to be honest. Most of the time I'm like, it's a pretty even field. Everyone's got the same ref. I'll leave him out of it. But between what I thought shouldn't have been a foul in the first place on Ryan, and then watching Arango just yell at the guy and foul every person he could find on the field for like the next 25 to 30 minutes, and him do nothing about it, I was like, well, this guy's not having a very good day. It was awful.
Yeah, but he finished that chip very sweetly.
Yeah, that was a surprise, especially because the camera kind of panned over to it at the very last second.
Oh, the goal itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate moment. It was a great ball. Collini is such a Collini is such a fantastic thing to watch on this team. I made the joke that he's like the dad that gets asked to play in the kids game and he's having just the best damn time of his life. No, but I saw how many times we watched him turn the ball over, make a bad pass, but that particular one for the goal with the outside of his foot over the top was about as nice as it gets.
It was funny you say that, because when Hara came on and Hara wanted to get physical, it was, sometimes you'll play a pickup game and you're like, and somebody like wants to go at you and you're like, oh, finally, here we go. It's like, this is fun now. Yeah. They had that going.
Yeah, you could tell that he was enjoying the fact that this guy came in, was trying to give him the business. Look, he's had the business give it to him by the best in the world. Frank O'Hara's nothing to him.
Oh, but I mean, you go into a league where it kind of lacks the physicality and it's a more faster athletic league. I'm sure, like, you get those moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is the stuff I signed up for. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting team. They're really, really good, and they did play quite well against Dallas. For the bulk of the game, and until that one guy had the brain fart and just why he didn't throw the ball away on the free kick that he gave up, and Arriola being so smart. That was such a great moment because I still don't think what's talked enough about that first goal was the insane angle and the manner in which Jesus scored that goal.
Yeah, both of those goals are ridiculous. The first one, you love. There's even some discussion in some of the quotes that are around today about how they pulled that together. You can see Paul right away when he finally gets the ball in his hands. He's not looking at where he's setting the ball down. He's looking at Jesus the whole time, almost telegraphing that thing's coming. And Jesus talked about waiting for a certain player to move a certain way and just give me the tiniest bit of space. They clearly knew what they were doing, and so the second Paul sees the tiniest little gap, he's off and with the ball to Jesus, and Jesus blasts that at a ridiculous angle. It's such a good goal because it's a goal that takes advantage of a team that is used to getting their way, and particularly given that the whole game, as we just talked about, they were getting a lot of benefit from the referee. Then for them to have this moment where they're yelling at the referee, they get burned. And so it was such a joyous moment in terms of just pure fan watching and fandom to see your team outsmart another team in a way that was very satisfying.
I mean, just to kind of drive home the point about how ridiculously tight the angles were, the 2 goals combined for 0.1 XG.
The second one's particularly delicious because Bale deflects it.
Yes.
Yeah, because people were like, that's a terrible goalkeeping mistake. I was like, the keeper's going in the direction the original shot was going. It was curling away, and so he's going away like that, and Gareth Bale nods it just enough, and there's only one angle you can really tell, and I think it's from a fan cell phone, and one of the things Dallas put out. You can clearly see Bale not nudge it offline by like 1 degree, and it makes it go behind the keeper instead of in front of the keeper, and that's all it took. It was, audacious attempt by Jesus, and it worked.
Yeah. The fact that Gareth Bale's man bun
scored,
caused it. And then Matt Doyle stirring the pot today with his Gareth Bale stat.
Stat is so good.
It is a good
What was
stat.
the stat?
It essentially says that in the very few amount of moments that Bale has played for LAFC, their goal differential is X, and without him, it's plus 33 or something.
Yeah, in his 375 minutes, LAFC are -7, and in all the rest of the play, they are plus 33.
Right,
Yeah.
So it's the top selling jersey of the season.
And Doyle had originally tweeted it before he got subbed off in the Minnesota game last night, so it was at 32, and then he got subbed off and they scored again, and he was like, now it's plus 33. It was just rubbing salt in the wound. All highly predictable, which means he'll score like a hat trick against the United States on the 21st. All right. Well, so look, here we go. This is one of those weird things that we just kind of have to enjoy, is the fact that Dallas not only has played well, but they've beaten two of the 2 best teams in the league in the course of the last essentially month's time. And then, of course, as we said last week, buried in there is also their worst loss of the season. But we have to feel good because here they are sitting solidly in 3rd place, and they've got 3 games left against 3 teams that are all out of the playoffs. And compared to some other teams that they're kind of battling for 3rd or 4th, they're in good position. And hell, look at Austin, who have now lost 4 of their last 5 games and have a kind of they don't have the worst schedule, but they still have to, they're playing Salt Lake now. They got Nashville left. I mean, Dallas literally has an opportunity to end as high as 2nd before the season's over.
Yeah, LAFC's lost 4 of 6. Austin, as you just said, lost 4 of 5. You could not ask for a better schedule in the Western Conference to finish with San Jose, Colorado, Kansas City this year. I mean, that is a gift. Now, again, we said this last time too. You had to perform. You have to go out and do it. But that's as good a schedule as you could get, considering how bad the schedule has been all year for this club.
Yeah.
The Tigres game and the international break, that's perfect for momentum. Remember, this coach all the time talks about the momentum of the game and the rhythm of the game. That's perfect for that. You take your stars and you give them 45-minute runabout, little kickabout, have a little fun, just to keep the weekly play going, the weekly legs going. That's really well designed. In fact, Nashville's a team that scares me a little bit in terms of how they've put some results here together late. Obviously, big picture, Philadelphia and what they're doing since Dallas beat them is just insane quality with just some, I don't have this stat in front of me, but it's some just absolutely incredible amount of goals that they've scored since the Dallas beat them. But what a time, like as people that have watched Dallas for a long time, Peter, you and I, and Dan for half of that time now, this is a season that does not come along very often. To be in the top 4 of the league, to be playing like this at the end of the season. Dallas usually limps into the playoffs. To be coming into the playoffs on a building momentum, granted 3 games to play.
The dark secret to the playoffs is going into the playoffs in form.
Right. So, and have a guy that we've been watching since he was 14, I've seen since he was 14 years old, becoming this transcendent player, watching Paxton get back into peak form, watching a really strong goalkeeper, watching almost all the signings they're doing, hitting and coming off. I mean, this season has just been absolutely ridiculous in terms of the enjoyment of covering this team. I'm now, of course, terrified of what's next because I'm not sure I'm deserved what we're getting. But what a run it's been this year, and the finish is going to be, I hope, as good as it's been so far. I don't have any reason to doubt it. You know, the Velasco hiccup, maybe that's the only hiccup we can see. Hopefully, cross our fingers.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully it's not it's something that, well, I assume we'll find out more about Velasco at some point, right?
I hope so.
I mean, I would imagine, but they don't necessarily have to. They can just put out thigh injury. They don't actually have to tell us anything.
Yeah, they could just leave him as questionable and make every team prepare for him.
Yeah.
Well, they did. They showed a photo. I thought it was a photo of him and Arriola, or maybe it was Jesus and
picking up Jesus at the end of the game.
And he's not wearing like a brace or on crutches or anything, so that's a good sign, especially if he's picking Jesus up, right?
Yeah.
Buzz, to hammer home your point, Philadelphia have averaged 4.6 goals per game since losing to FC Dallas.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Losing to FC Dallas was their proverbial wake-up call. They have absolutely annihilated everyone they've played since then. I mean, I can't think of a time I've seen a hotter team at the end of a season. Their current form, doing it without big-name, fancy, crazy spend money superstars at the end of the season is just ridiculous. They'll clearly be the favorite going into the whole thing, just on their form. It's going to be, I mean, that's a fun team to watch, frankly.
Yeah,
Philadelphia. Yeah.
And the idea of having to go to MLS Cup in Chester just doesn't seem all that
that's going to be the problem for Dallas is like, you know, unless something really crazy happens in the Eastern Conference, you know, the only way Dallas is getting, if they get all the way to the MLS Cup, the only way they're getting it is that you're going to have a weird upset. And I don't think that's very likely. It's almost assuredly that Dallas is probably going to finish somewhere between second and fourth. And pending an upset in the West, you're going to, at some point, you're going to have to go to LAFC, or you're going to have to go to Austin, or you're going to have to go to Philly and try and win one of these road games, or have to go to Montreal, perhaps that's the other good team in the East. You're going to have to win one of these games on the road against a really, really good home team. I mean, LA's lost 2 games at home all year, right? Philly's lost none. Oh, LA's just won. Excuse me, I'm reading the wrong column. Philly's lost none at home all year. So this is why we talk about trying to get to the very top of the conference to put yourself in the best spot, and why, if you're not, you need these transcendent players that can make these moments of glory happen. And this is the best sort of lined up along those lines that I feel like in a long time. You have to go back to 2010 when they had a really good defense and you had David Ferreira as a guy you felt like could carry a team like that. Oscar's teams were good, but I didn't feel that way about Mauro Diaz. I felt like Mauro Diaz was hurt all the time. So I never felt like he's going to carry them to a cup. I feel like Jesus or David could have done that.
You've just sealed MLS Cup
I just
2022. FC Dallas at home against Orlando City.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would be fun.
Hey, before we get too far away from the game, I do want to talk a little bit about. Were you guys surprised he pulled Paxton at that critical moment of the game?
No.
Why?
Well, I thought Paxton was okay. I didn't think he was having a bad game. I didn't think he was having a great game. But the important thing about trying to win that game was the idea that you needed to go at their defense with the ball at your feet. And when a coach looks over at the bench and says, okay, I need somebody fresh that can dribble at people and make some chaos happen here. Who do I have? And he looks over there and he's got Seeking a Sebling. Well, he can do that. Nanu can do that. So even if guys aren't playing poorly, which I'm not saying that they were, sometimes it's just about a dude that can dribble who's fresh. And so, because he's coming in at 70 minutes, 68 minutes, whatever it is, to go at guys. Because other than that, he has Benny, who's a homegrown and played like 2 games. He's got Kamunga, who saw him like a week ago, right? Savania doesn't dribble, right? Jimmy Mowers is a goalie. That doesn't help you. Quinones is a center back. That doesn't help you. Facundo, I think Facundo's already in the game at that point for Edwin, but he's not a dribbler either. Frank O'Hara's already in the game. So that's who he's got. He's got Nanu and he's got Nsebling. So
Well,
it's like, I'm going for him, rolling the dice. So who am I bringing off? Well, Legette's better at
the
dribbling
other way
people.
around. Faku came on with Siki. Nani was already in the game.
Okay. Well, either way, Facundo's not dribbling at people, right? So, do I take off Leggett or do I take off Pomacall? And Leggett is a better attacker who has goals and assists and better on the dribble than Paxton. So you bring off Paxton. It's basic.
Well, I do think this is the interesting side story to this game, which is when Dallas needed to make subs, they throw on Nanu and Hara, Faku, and Nsebling. And when LAFC needed to make subs, they throw on Kellen Acosta, Apoku, and Gareth Bale.
Yeah. Apoku is a good, I can say his name, is a good player. I like him. And of course, we love Kellen, yeah.
And then the Mendez substitution a little bit later, too. So, I mean, the differences in the rosters are epic, right?
Well, sorry. I'm just saying that I can explain every move Dallas made and why it happened. I mean, obviously, there's a massive difference between bringing Siki off the bench and bringing Gareth Bale off the bench. I mean, you would think, maybe not based on the stats we've pointed out today.
Well, I would say that Siki had a bigger impact on the game than Gareth did.
He certainly did. Yeah, he and Nanu both did.
But
I mean, that was somebody.
I don't think Gareth cares as much as Siki does.
Well, somebody asked me, like, did they think, because the commentators were a little harsh on Ima Tuamasi, and somebody I was talking with, I can't remember who it was asking me if I thought Ima was bad. And I said, no, sometimes the sub is just about fresh, and just about who do I have that has some quality I need, and it's fresh at the 70th minute. It doesn't mean that the guy that came off was bad. Sometimes subs just happen because I need to change it up.
Okay, well, I'm gonna push back. I thought Emma was not very good in this game. Emma frustrates me. And I don't like him as the right back, long-term solution for this team because I just don't think Emma makes decisions fast enough. He's too slow to receive a ball and then do something with it, and he doesn't seem to be willing to try to do anything moving forward with it. And I think sometimes he's one of the key components that just tends to clog the works up.
Yeah, he had a really good run of about 5 games coming into this one. So I don't think he was as good as he was in those 5 games, but that's a long way from bad. You can be average and still be better than bad. So I just said I didn't think Ema was bad. I mean, it's certainly other people evaluate him different ways, and if you don't think he's the answer going forward, that's certainly a discussion for the off season.
Well, I think
if we'll be having that discussion.
Sure. Well, I mean, compare your 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
I think Farfan is leaps and bounds significantly grades better than Tuamasi in my book.
Defensively, yeah, for sure, which is what's key with this coach. But Ema's a lot better going forward, though, than Farfan.
And he's better than Nanu.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, next up for Dallas is San Jose. So
before you jump to San Jose, I want to at least talk about Nkosi Tafari because I think he was really good again.
Okay.
Hedges at some point will be back, and I would imagine that over the back end of this season, this coach is going to go with Hedges and Martinez. But I think Nkosi Tafari has elevated his game enough in the things that are deficient, according to this particular coach, that he's put himself at least in the discussion going forward. I think there's a real school of thought that'll happen soon-ish as to whether he's now ready to move forward as the guy. And there'll come a timeline discussion with Hedges and how old he is and the lack of mobility on Martinez. They all have their qualities. It's not going to be now for a piece of paper I'm looking at has their names right next to each other. It's confusing the crap out of me. For Tafari, the rest of this season, but leading into San Jose, Hedges originally had this 10-day window, so theoretically this week he should be back. Now on Monday, which was two days ago, he was still listed as out, and they did update Monday. The MLS updated that page. Now whether that means he's still out or not, we will see. I think more than likely he'll be available, but then there comes a question of, well, if I just hold him out one more week, I can go ahead and play Tafari against San Jose and it'll be fine. There's a discussion to be had there. So that's really a talking point going into this game, is whether Hedges will be back or whether you let Tafari have one more game or not.
Yeah, Tafari, in my mind, this season has been very hit and miss in his passing.
Fair.
But let's give him full credit for that amazing crossfield ball to Arriola that sets up the red card, because that was about as nice as it gets.
Yeah, he has the physical ability to hit long passes, quality long passes. His deficiencies coming out of the back have always just been ones of experience, and also just the choices that he's made. And I think we've talked all year long about this coach and soccer smarts. It's why Martinez plays. And that's been the biggest deficiency for Nicosi, and he's gotten
just regular time playing.
Yeah, regular time playing, and then which leads to better understanding of how to build out, better choices when you build out, better choices about when to pass and when not to pass, when you're passing to relieve pressure or passing into pressure, and when you shouldn't do those things. Some of that has come with Edwin Surreal's progression in terms of showing himself. That was the latest thing we were on him about improving, and he has improved lately. That's why Edwin's kind of a lock now at this point again, is that he's now showing and relieving pressure. So that's led to Tafari being better in that aspect as well. We're seeing guys that are, the spots that are the weaker spots in this roster that play, of the guys that play, making progression. And it's nice to see it even this late in the season, because there may come times when you're going to need those guys to be. Edwin certainly is going to be starting, it looks like, the rest of the way, I would imagine, based on what some people are saying. So, good for him and good on Nicosi.
All right. Are we done with that game now?
Oh, yeah, the LA game. Yeah.
Okay. San Jose. Now, on paper, I'm sure everybody's thinking, licking their lips, this is a win. But San Jose's won their last 2 home games. They beat Vancouver, and they were one of the teams that started this bad run for LAFC. They beat LAFC 2-1 about 4 weeks ago. So it does not feel like, first off, I'm not sure what Dallas's record is in San Jose, but off the top of my head, it isn't great. Is it not, Dan?
Other than Tesho scoring the hat trick, I can't remember too many good games there.
Yeah, so certainly as Dallas is, trying to make sure that they get a home playoff game to start off the playoffs, this will be a critical one to do that. Buzz, do you have any insight into starting lineups or anybody that,
no,
other than the Hedges stuff you just talked about?
Yeah, Hedges Tafari is the one discussion point.
More Obrian?
Yeah, more Obrian, because Velasco is for sure going to be out. I mean, best case scenario, you're looking at another 3 weeks probably, because they said 3 to 4, and that was really only a couple of days ago that they said that. Remember, it happened on Friday. So,
right.
I mean, the very best you could possibly, this is just my guess, but based on that 3 to 4, maybe Colorado, maybe the season finale versus Kansas City, certainly not the San Jose game. So obviously you're looking at Obrian. There's nobody else that can come close to starting on the wing, because Arriola will be in there and Jesus will be in there. They should not leave until after that game. I can't imagine. The midfield is pretty chalk at this point. Paxton Lletget and Edwin. The back is, everybody knows who's playing. The only question is the injury of Hedges versus Tafari and your risk, how fast we bring back Hedges, etc. The real question is, what do you have off the bench if you need a wing? Because you're getting into territory of, Redžić and Kamungo. And at what point, if you really need something, can you really rely on either one of those guys? And I don't know that you can. If you needed one for half of a game, might we finally get to see, finally, it's only been a week and a half, Kamungo, or we see more Redžić, or that's really a weak spot. You can understand why Dallas signed Kamungo, in the sense that they really only have 3 wings. Like, for whatever reason, Redžić isn't ready to play all the time, and they seem to Khalil's like completely out of the picture. So it's not surprised they went after a wing, but none of those guys are going to help them now. So they really need Velasco back.
Yeah, I was thinking that I think the fan base would feel much differently going into the playoffs if they found out Velasco wasn't going to be in the mix. But hey, they beat LA with Obrian, so
right. But the thing would be, over the course of the playoffs, sure, you can start Obrian every game. That's adequate. But then what? it's like that means Arriola and Arriola have to go all game, every game pretty much, because there really isn't anybody else. You end up looking at things like a lot more Franco Jara and shifting Jesus out of position, or putting Leggett on the wing. I mean, Leggett can play wing, so you can do that, but he doesn't want to. That's not why he came here. It gets troublesome quickly when you don't have the depth of roster that you need to have, and your coach plays it really short anyway. So it's that fourth winger is a key problem for the winter. Obviously you're hoping in development terms that Reg or Kamugo can in the long term be an answer there, but it wouldn't shock me to see a midterm answer brought in at some point too. It can't happen now because it would be a problem going in the playoffs.
All right, let me go back and look at Buzz's crayon colored run sheet and see if I'm forgetting anything here.
Yeah, North Texas has their final season game against Houston on Sunday. The only thing I really wanted to talk about it much was that Blaine Ferry finally came back and started, and North Texas proceeded to stomp the tar out of the best team in their conference, St. Louis City, who had only lost a couple of games all year, and then Texas, once they brought Blaine back, just annihilated them. So I think it goes to show how good that kid is, and I think that was the first game all season we've seen pretty much their best 11, other than Nolan Norris started at center back because they were missing a player for a card suspension. So it was the closest we've seen of them being in peak form. And so they too are peaking right as they enter the playoffs. So they got one more game down in Houston, and then the playoffs are single elimination. So they'll get, possibly 3 games to a championship if they make a run. And that's where Kamungo will be most of the time. Now that I think about it, he probably won't go to San Jose with the team. He'll probably be with North Texas for their game, I would imagine.
All right. Let's see. Anything else?
Dan, what do you got?
Yeah, Dan, you're so quiet. I guess probably want to be respectful.
Yeah. We're in mourning over here.
So tomorrow, I'm told that Nike officially unveils the national team kit.
That'll be a trashy moment.
Yeah. Now, I will also use that as an opportunity to reveal my design that Dan so artfully helped me put together. Dan, do you even want any credit for this at all?
Sure, I accept the blame.
Because I think what Dan and I have put together is far more radical, high-flying, and death-defying is the best way I would describe it. I don't know. You've seen it, Buzz, haven't you?
I have, and I find it intriguing.
Yes. Don't you think it's much better?
It's much better than what Nike's doing, for sure.
Do you mean intriguing like a flaming car crash?
Yeah.
something like that, yes.
Yeah. Like a circus is intriguing. Yeah.
I can't look away, but I want to.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Don't call my kits clowny, because they're not clowny.
No. I didn't say clowny.
You said circus.
I said a circus. Well, there's a lot of things in a circus than clowns.
All right. I think high-flying and death-defying is the way to describe them.
I mean, getting into kit talk, Dan's tornado.
Oh my God! Yes, please. Let's spend a good 5 minutes talking about that masterpiece.
By Steve Davis.
Yeah.
Steve
Davis can turn the pot off now. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, Dan threw together and did you put them up on Twitter, or did you just throw them in the Discord?
Just the Discord. I can put it on Twitter.
No, Buzz, make them the episode art.
I will.
So Dan made a mock-up of for a FC Dallas away kit. I'm assuming that would be the away kit, but it is what year of the tornado is it?
1981.
1981 tornado white jersey with the royal blue sleeves and the royal blue shorts. It's beautiful, my friend.
Yeah, it fits.
And the HEB logo on the chest, which is double, triple sweet like candy.
Well, the World Cup jerseys you'll see are kind of what MLS is getting next year, and they have this like little stripe that goes down the side. And I was like, that looks like the tornado thing, where it had the red stripe going down the side. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good. The only reason I think it would be unlikely is the shorts are dark-ish, and that throws a slight wrench into the light-ish kind of.
You get your secondary white shorts. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
No, this thing, Dan, is absolutely pristine. I love it. I mean, if this was the real deal, I would be so excited. We'll definitely put it on the image for the podcast. It's really good.
Yes. So, all right. Well, I can't wait to see the internet go aflame tomorrow. I guess I'm assuming everybody.
Can we do another April Fool's joke with that?
Can we do a what?
Can we just do like a late April Fool's joke with it?
A late April Fool's joke? Yeah, we could just, if you want, we could edit this out of the podcast and do a fake. We got a leak of the jersey.
No, it's even better if we leave it in the podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. This is next year's. Is the away jersey what gets replaced next year for Dallas?
Yep.
Oh, then you should totally just go ahead and throw it out there and say this is next year's FC Dallas away kit.
No.
And everybody listening to the pod is in on the joke. Don't give it away, okay?
But
don't
some
screw this up, listeners.
But just like last time, some Brazilian blog and then footy headlines will go in for it.
Yeah. That was my favorite part of that whole joke last time, was that some people kept finding it and putting it out as a leak. A year later.
It turned out to be right anyway.
It's pretty damn close. Man, it was.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, good times. All right. Well, Dallas wins. They got San Jose up next. We're all feeling good. Everybody, before you go to bed next time at your bedtime prayers, say something good about Velasco's leg. That would be your homework assignment from this podcast.
Hi, this is Sarosh again, reminding you that Third Degree the podcast is brought to you by Soccer90.com. Celebrate the North Texas SC playoff run by gearing up with a North Texas jersey, tee, or scarf. This weekend, September 16th through 18th, all North Texas SC merchandise is 30% off, so order your gear today. And remember, Third Degree listeners get 20% off other items at Soccer90.com with promo code Third Degree. Some exclusions may apply. Discounts can't be combined.
Dan, thank you very much, sir. And again, I hope you get some time to, I don't know, what's the right way to, I don't know how to do this. I've never had anybody I know have their queen died before. I don't know what to say.
That's a great phrase to use. I don't know. Let's just party on.
All right, party on, Garth. And Buzz, thank you, sir. Good work again, as always.
Thanks. The queen is dead. Long live the king.
Okay, all right. That sounds rather direct. And thank you, FC Dallas Curious fan. We'll speak to you next week on another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Get stuck in it. No, wrong show.
Woo! Woo! Third Degree, the Third Degree Net podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net podcast. Third Degree Net podcast. Third Degree Net podcast. 25 long hard years, yeah. Buzz Carrick, yeah, the man. 25 years, you better be giving this man at least $5 a month. Patreon Third Degree, come on, pay the man. It's the only comprehensive coverage of my fucking club that I love so much. Hey, come on, it's Third Degree or bust. Yes, give the man some money. Hey, Third Degree Net podcast.